Why take FPL advice from one expert when you can take advice from 100 of them? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. The experts are using yet more chips in Game Week 32, and we're going to tell you everything that they are up to ahead of this new game week. Okay, let's get started. I'm feeling pretty good after the big Arsenal win last night. I'm sure a few other Arsenal fans out there are feeling pretty happy and confident right now with football in general. But the experts, whilst there may be a few Arsenal managers among them, hopefully they're feeling confident as well. And these are the 100 managers who helped us out by volunteering their data for the new game week. Let's go ahead and see what they're up to. So, the headline this week is that it is probably a week to not make a transfer. In fact, 72% of our experts are making no transfer this week. And as such, this episode is going to be, don't get me wrong, we're going to cover the transfer stuff, but we're also going to be talking a lot about the chips being used, what the general template of the FPL expert is looking like right now, and of course, captaincy as well, if there's anything interesting happening there. But like I said, 72% no transfers, that might even be a record for this series. It's certainly one of the highest we see at this stage of the season. Often at the start of the season, it's pretty high, but as we go through the season, it's very, very rare to see this number above 50%. It's only happened a couple of times since like game week 2-3. So don't make a transfer if you don't need to. But if you do need to, 19% of our experts are making one transfer, 7% are making two transfers, 1%, just one person is making three transfers, and one person on a wild card as well. I know a few people thinking about using the wild card this week. Most of our experts seem to have pulled the trigger on that in game week 30 or 31, so not so much this week. I think we'll see again some more wildcards being used in game week 34 as well, so keep your eye out on that one. We also have the final headline for this particular slide. 8% of our experts are using the bench boost chip this week. That is pretty high. Generally, we've not really seen very many bench boosts being used throughout the season from our experts at all. In fact, I don't think we've seen more than 1%, maybe 2% max in previous weeks. So this is a season high bench boost week, but the vast majority of our experts still do have the bench boost chip in hand and will not be playing it this week. And I am going to predict that around 70 to 80% of the experts will be using their bench boost next week instead. So if you do go for a bench boost this week, you are going to be in the minority, but it is still a viable strategy if your bench does look really good right now. But if you're following along more closely with the overall expert strategy, game week 33 looks like your bench boost week. So you're going to have to wait one more week for that one. But again, it does depend what your bench kind of looks like. So let's continue on. Let's talk about transfers before we look more into chips and captaincy. So here are the overall player base top transfers for this week. And there are plenty of transfers being made in the overall player base by the looks of things. Jacob Murphy way out in front here, 254,000 transfers in for him. And our experts do agree that this is definitely a good player to be picking up from your FPL teams after his brace against Leicester. Mateta is in second here, and a few of our experts are bringing him in as well. But as we will see later in the video, Mateta is pretty much in all expert teams at this point, and it's just the final few really picking him up ahead of game week 32 for Crystal Palace's back-to-back double game weeks. No change on Morgan Rogers, Munoz, or Milenkovic really. Small change upwards for Eze, despite his, he's slightly lower on this list among the overall player base, but our experts really like this pick. No change on Livramento among experts. Saliba with a small trend upwards, and Saka and Gavardio, no real change there. So yeah, there are a few players on this list that our experts seem to be bringing in, but I have to be totally honest with you guys, a lot of these players our experts simply already have. They are top managers, they are going to be ahead of the game, and for many people it might be a case of playing catch up and bringing in these players rather than rolling transfers. So looking at the top transfers out among experts, and we're seeing more people sell Gabriel this week. There was a few people sold him last week, a few more this week, but still plenty of our experts are holding on to Gabriel, just leaving him on the bench in anticipation for further information. And that actually worked out really well last game week for the experts who did keep Gabriel and just left him on the bench, because it often meant that they were playing both Munoz and Gavardio rather than benching one of them. So they dealt with a benching headache, managed to play both Munoz and Gavardio, and got FPL points from both of those players. So sometimes an injury seems like big bad news, but often is the case, it can turn into a blessing in disguise. And a lot of people did find that out in Game Week 31. But that said, there are still a few people selling Gabriel, but the majority of current Gabriel owners who did not sell him last week or the week before, whatever, are going to actually be keeping him for one more week and probably making that transfer in Game Week 33. I think this number could go down to close to 0 ownership by the Game Week 33 deadline. But for now, yeah, there's definitely the option to keep him if you don't have any defenders in mind that you'd like to buy. A few transfers out for Cliver as his injury status remains unclear. And Burmo also some transfers out with some difficult fixtures ahead. No double game weeks for him either. We've got obviously Arsenal as the next fixture for Brentford. Evanilson, the remaining Evanilson owners will be selling him this week. A couple of transfers out for Foden, but the vast majority will be keeping him. Same situation with Gordon, but slightly less extreme. Few transfers out, but most Gordon owners will be taking a punt on his fitness ahead of Game Week 33, or 32, I suppose. I guess it's a case of, you know, for most experts, just waiting for more information in the case of Foden or in the case of Gordon. You've maybe made your bed and you kind of just got to ride it through, see it through now and hope for the best, I suppose. That's what seems to be happening in most cases. A few transfers for Potter. Yeah, a few of our experts are currently on the assistant manager chip and they activated that last week. I believe it's 3. They activated it last week. No one is activating it this week. So this is not a week to activate the assistant manager, but if you do have it active and you did have Potter in your as your manager, for example, then this could be an opportunity to sell him. The other manager was Amorim, actually. So a few points gained from Potter and Amorim, but now is the time to sell. We're going to talk about the best replacement according to our experts and a few just other general transfers out for various players that are still owned. And by the way, guys, if you do enjoy these experts videos, they do take a little time to put together with the gathering of the data and presenting it to you guys in a way that is easy to understand. Make sure you do leave a like and do subscribe if you want to follow along with the expert trends every week to try and guarantee yourself that top 100k finish. Hopefully it is working for a lot of you guys. I hear constantly you guys tell me, yeah, I'm following along with the 100 experts this year. My season is going incredibly well. So I'm so glad to hear that feedback. That is exactly what we are trying to do right now. So transfers in this week, and we did mention there is not a huge amount of transfers this week. However, Eze and Murphy are the 2 players at the top, 2 midfielders, 6 transfers in for each of these players. It certainly seems like if you are buying a new Crystal Palace midfielder this week, Eze is more popular than Sarr as a new transfer in. Murphy is also on here with some more transfers in for him. And we see Glasner as the only assistant manager being transferred in this week. There's been no transfers in for Eddie Howe among our experts this week. It's only Glasner that they're going for. So hopefully assistant managers, you will be able to do that too. Mateta, a few transfers in for him as we try and get that number closer and closer to 100%. A couple of transfers in for Harvey Barnes, which is quite interesting, kind of taking a bet on Gordon being unavailable for the double game week. It's a risky move and that's why so few are making it. Couple transfers in for Saliba, and then again we've just got general 1 transfers here and there for various other popular players in the world of FPL. So that makes our template look a little bit like this. Raya and Areola, no change there whatsoever. We see Gvardiol, Munoz, Livramento, Concert and Saliba making up the defensive template right now, with Gvardiol and Munoz by far the most popular 2 picks in the defensive position. In midfield, 100% ownership for Salah, no change there. Ismaila Sarr and Saka see no change in their ownership. If you have these players, you keep them. If you don't have these players, you probably don't buy them this week. Seems to be the general trend of things. And after that, we've got Jacob Murphy with an increase up to 69% ownership. So most experts will have him in their team. And after that, your 5th midfield slot is far more variable. And this is where we see a lot of variation among our experts. Currently, the most popular 5th midfielder is Rodgers at 24% owned. But we do see some other names in there. I think Savinho is on 23%, for example. that there are various names that could occupy this fifth slot in your team. And up front, the template is very clear, very obvious. Isak, Mateta, Marmoush, same three players, though Mateta has had a small boost in his ownership ahead of the Game Week 32 deadline and the back-to-back doubles. Looking at the average Game Week 31 score, it was 55.1 points among experts last week. So let me know, did you beat the expert score in Game Week 31? Hopefully you guys did, but, you know, I mean, really, you should be like around that, I suppose, like roughly similar to that if you are having a good season. And the average current rank has actually dropped a few thousand places this week, which I wasn't really expecting to see. But yeah, Game Week 31, the average current rank is down to 153,000. So again, let me know, are you beating the average expert rank or not? No change in the top 1 millionaires. It's just unfortunately, it seems that the few of my experts who have not yet broken into the top 1 million are struggling to break in, maybe making crazier and crazier decisions each week. It is totally relatable. I definitely get it. When your season is not going well, you make madder and madder moves, and that has definitely not paid off in Game Week 31. All of the template players really did well. In terms of top 100k, we're up to 41%. I think that is going to be at 50% within the next 2 game weeks, which is where I kind of hope it will be as we go into the final part of the season. And top 10k, we're now up to 14% of our experts in the top 10,000 positions, which is absolutely fabulous indeed. So those are the numbers for our experts. That is what they're up to. Those are the players they own. Let's make some suggestions on transfers and then talk about captains and triple captains as well. So quickly, no combo transfers this week. Although some of our experts did make multiple transfers, they weren't really combination transfers, but more likely 2 individual transfers, 2 like-for-like transfers that didn't require, you know, taking money out of one player in order to invest it in another. So I think we can skip past this one this week and move on to the direct transfers. As we mentioned, Gabriel transfers still rolling out, and that will continue to do so. Saliba and Livramento seem to be the top 2 replacements. If you have no other Arsenal defenders, maybe Saliba is the play. If you have not enough Newcastle coverage, maybe Livramento could be your guy. If you're looking for a new midfielder, Cliver and Mbermo could be replaced by the likes of Murphy and maybe some other players there as well. Eza, you could put in here as well, potentially. Evan Nilsson out for Mateta, if you do have Evan Nilsson in your team, and Potter to Glasner is the assistant manager move that we are seeing a lot of this week. And finally, captains, and we have got the big news. 20% of our experts will be using their triple captain this week. In fairness, I think less than half of our experts even have the triple captain chip remaining in their roster, but it seems a lot who do have their triple captain will be using it this week, and all of them who are using their triple captain are using it on Alexander Isak. So there could be some more opportunities later in the season. If you're bench boosting in Game Week 32, for example, maybe Game Week 33 could be a triple captain week, and also Game Week 36 we think has a very good chance of being a double game week, where actually Marmoush looks like a potential triple captain for that week as well. So it's not essential to use your triple captain this week, but certainly a lot of our experts will be doing it. So we'll put that one out there. In terms of actually selecting your captain in general, it is pretty much a whitewash for Alexander Isak. 95% captaincy against Manchester United and Crystal Palace, both at home. We know Isak is fully fit now, so minutes are no more of a concern than usual, really. Isak has always been an 80-minute kind of man, so I think that is no real change there. This is the best you're going to get for him in terms of fitness. So double home fixtures, decent fixtures, and that's why we see so many of our experts going there. We also see 3 going for Mateta, and it's probably going to be those with slightly lower ranks trying to just do something different, try something crazy to see if it comes off. That is just a mentality game in FPL. Sometimes you got to try it. Most of the time it won't come off, but when it does, you can finally get your season back on track. So maybe a few people going that way with Mateta in the slightly tougher fixtures. But it has to be said, maybe Mateta's form over the last couple of weeks has been better than Isak's. And we've got Jacob Murphy here as the final pick in the captaincy. 2 people going for him. Not really very much. Not really a strong trend. Not really sure we can read into this one too much. But yeah, I guess as an outside bet, Mateta and Jacob Murphy could contend with Isak this week. But let's be totally honest with you guys. This doesn't seem like a week to go differential on your captain. Certainly if we're looking at the expert numbers, it seems like this is most likely the week to go sensible. Go for Isak, don't overthink it. And then maybe in game week 33, we'll see a little bit more variety with far more teams and players with double game weeks. It's going to open up our options a whole bunch. So there you go. Alexander Isak for captain. And if you've got a triple captain, this could be a very good week to activate it. But again, it is not your only choice, but could be the best one. We don't know for sure yet. I guess time will tell. But there we go, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Do drop a like if you enjoyed this video, found it useful. It does help out the channel so much. Subscribe if you're new around here. We'll be back tomorrow for my team selection video where I've got a lot to think about. So look forward to that one. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.